This is Dan Max, the trading agent. This is a stock trading and recap channel that I wanted to share to the masses. In a probability game, there's no certainty. Here are my insights and predictions. Hello, all. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the trading agent. Going to do a little back to basics series on options expiration. Today, November, was it the 19th? It's a options expiration for the November contracts. The quad witching OPEXs are usually quarterly, say March, June, was it September, December. Anyway, point being is options expiration is an interesting phenomena in the market because you have the market makers and the specialists of the options trying to pin action the price so that they can nuclear just eradicate as many options as possible. And so during this week, you typically have what I call choppiness, ChopX. I call it ChopX because you'll tend to see either extreme highs or lows in names that have been running, or you're going to see waterlogged stocks. You're going to see your favorite stocks just go nowhere. You're going to see the market tied to some big round number. It can be extremely frustrating because you know that this week is just meant to do that. And so what I tell people is kind of expect up one part of the week, down one part of the week, or start down, go up later. Either way, you'll kind of see stocks pin out to certain areas. Now, every once in a while, there are things that will break out, or as I said, top during this week, but they're usually fewer and far between. It's usually a chopping action. And so knowing that, let's look at all the different potentialities and such. So we talked about TLT this week. It hit the upper channel and it bounced down. Well, if you look at the candle action, down to up. So you look at the weekly action, you can really see it's really choppy. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up closing exactly where we started, somewhere in this 147, 148 range. And you're going to see this a lot on some stocks. And unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is. Like it's one of these phenomenons where you can see it with all sorts of names where you get this big choppiness. I've talked about gold all week holding high and tight. And it's literally gone nowhere. It's waterlogged. Okay, well then you talk about what are the names breaking out. Apple, it's been consolidating for weeks here under this head and shoulders channel, what I would call. This is what was either a fail point or a breakout. Well, it finally broke out. So there's an example of something waiting to break out. I mean, here's an example of something topping. This is Roblox. Now, this is one of the biggest trades we've been in the last couple of weeks. It's been a monster winner, basing, breakout, hit the 2 times range. It's topping during OPEX. Now, I know this might all sound like, well, what are you trying to say here again? Just bottom line it all. You're going to see some moves bottom. You're going to see some moves top. And then you're going to see a lot of shit chop out. And a lot of the choppiness is to kill the volatility index. Here's something that's possibly bottoming during OPEX, the VIX. The volatility index, we talked about bottoming last week or 2 weeks ago with the W pattern. It's been holding the 20-day. It looked like it was going to break out last week, but guess what? This week is ChopX. So the VIX came right back down and it's been basing all week. It's closing closer to the highs, but watch the close on the Friday afternoon. It's something where no one's watching. I have a feeling they're going to beat the shit out of the VIX in the close, unless there's some extraneous news event, which I can't predict, which that's part of trading. But it looks like they've been holding the VIX back to kind of annihilate the options again, because if people have been buying stocks and really trying to trade, you got chopped out this week. I mean, look at Tesla. I imagine the weekly looks pretty interesting. Yeah, it's just a bouncy after dropping, bounce after drop. Here's another one. What is it? Rivian. I was thinking they would bottom this week because of OPEX, everyone buying puts. Yesterday, it looked like it was going to do it, but it ended up closing near the lows. But look at the action today. It gapped up. I mean, it's really, 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 really hard to predict in ChopX. And that's what I tell people. You just got to be aware that the choppiness proceeds, and there's going to be a lot of names where if you think they're going to go somewhere, they might not this week. They could be tied to a certain number. I'm looking at the SPY. Big round strike prices, 470. It's been basing around 470 all week. If it closes around 470 this week, just tie that to the OPEX. Just keep it really simple. It's kind of a hard phenomenon because you have to study it. You have to really understand what's going on with it. And again, just keep in notes. Like for some stocks, it'll be bottoming. For some stocks, it'll be a topping. And then some stocks, in most of them, it's going to be a nothing week. It's going to be one of these weeks where you just say the action really didn't do anything. Now, again, there's always exceptions because there are news events that can control things for a particular stock. Say, for example, it's whatever, Pfizer, Moderna this morning are having a bunch of news related to the FDA. Well, that's not something the charts really can tell you unless you really study them and you know that something's coming. But the average person doesn't know that. I mean, or it's earnings. Like earlier in the week, Nvidia had its earnings. Where do I have that? Let's just put that one in there. Neo's a piece of shit anyway. Nvidia had its earnings. Could it be topping? Because before its earnings, it was basing and retesting. Just keep that in mind. If you're getting frustrated by what I call ChopX, OPEX, or you're looking at a name that shouldn't be dropping even though it is, like for example, Penn, in my mind, it was holding. And all of a sudden, the volume just was like, and they started selling it. And ChopX wiping out. Maybe there was a bunch of buyers of calls because Portnoy's buying, because the company's buying back shares. Maybe maybe, again, you have to study the options chain. And if you don't know what that is, just go within your broker, look up the stock symbol. Somewhere in there, you can look up the options chain. You'll probably see that there was a lot of calls being bought. Well, guess what? They wiped all those guys out. I mean, I actually bought some calls earlier this week, but they're not for 2 months, so I'm not super worried about them. They have defined risk, but they got hit, obviously, when the stock dropped. So that's it. It's called ChopX for a reason. It typically pins to certain prices. I'm going to laugh when Apple closes at 160 today, and the SPYs close around 470. It's pin action. So the pin action chops up and down. So example, the SPY will get over, it'll get below. But ultimately it'll just hang out. It's like dropping a ball out of your hand in the first bounce, and it's just like that reverberation, but it only holds to the floor. That's what the market makers want. That's what the specialists want to do to crush out the options. Be aware that at the end of the day, you'll probably see a lot of volume come in because there will be people who need to buy stock to cover calls or cover any sort of action, whether it's with puts or calls. So if the volume comes in at the end of the day, do not be surprised. That is normal because people have to, fulfill the exercising of options. They need to own the stock, especially if they had naked calls and puts. That's neither here nor there. It's very complicated, but hopefully everything I've been talking about makes sense in that there is a game being played here by the special and the market makers. They really want to kill options. They really want to get people to liquidate their options so that they take losses or they end at zero. In this game, they're kind of what I would say sweeping out all of the loose change in the market from risk because there's people who bought probably out of the money calls that are going to be worthless, or people who have deep in the money calls. They're trying to get those people to close them out for the smallest gains they can get. It's a rigged game. It's a casino. I tell this to people all the time. If you don't know the rules, you don't understand the mechanics of the game, it's no different than sitting down and playing blackjack, craps, roulette. If you don't know the game and you just play it like everyone else does, you're probably going to lose. You need to try to find some edge here. And here's the edge: understanding what the market makers are trying to do. I hate to repeat myself, but this is just something people get so frustrated and ask me, what's going on this week? Why is it doing this? And why is it doing... Hey, I just sum it up to that. It's ChopX. They're not trying to get the market to really move anywhere this week because it's all about killing options. So, with that note, Dan Max at eXp Realty, a.k.a. the trading agent, is trying to give you a little heads up. If you have names that you think might be at the bottom, Rivian, Penn, Valet, some of these other names, or they've been basing, silver, gold. Next week is going to be, in the weeks following, should present the moves to continuation. or the trend has changed. So keep that in mind. Talk to you guys soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like the content. Also smash the like button, share with your friends, and add a comment. If there's a topic or stock you'd like me to give you insight about, let me know in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer your question. Thanks.